Hello, everyone. It's the fucking podcast. I started off with a swear word. I'm your host. I have so much energy for some reason. I'm your host, A-Spot. This is the co-host. Actually, we're both co-hosts. Co-host, Kogeki. How's it going? That's right. That's the energy we're talking about.
We're talking high energy. We're talking
Yeah.
like red like roses. Damn it!
Yeah.
We can't talk about Ruby.
We said we wouldn't talk about it, but we're going to talk about it anyways. That's how we do it here.
This show's new catchphrase is "We won't talk about Ruby."
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about a Ruby a lot.
Are we? Is that our topic for the day?
No.
Damn. So what is our topic for the day, my
I have
fellow
no fucking
co-host?
clue.
God fucking damn it.
Mr.
Alright.
Estachio.
Mr. Estachio?
So yesterday a friend who was supposed to be on this introduced us to the wonder that is Mrs. Estachion, which is the most offensive snare drum I've ever heard in my life.
Now, see, the thing is, I don't know a whole lot about shmups. I know it is a shmup, and I know it's Toho based.
Didn't you watch it?
I did watch it.
You were there.
I was there.
We also watched CTC.
Yeah, we did, and we got to see White Reimu.
Weimu.
It was great. It was fantastic. You, the viewer, should have been here.
Yeah.
Been there.
Too bad you weren't. You were too busy waiting for this episode to come out. So CTC was made in 2000. Why am I fucking saying that? CTC is some shitty fan game. It's about like Reimu was jerking off the whole time, and that's the plot. It's really dumb and stupid. It's just the Ash Coma theory, but in Toho, so you know it's good.
Yeah. Concealed the conclusion, or CTC for short.
It's a sexual activity involving comas.
Yeah.
And male genital mutilation. Speaking of male genital, we are going to be talking about Toho for the third time in a row. Male genital mutilation.
How does
the second?
How does that even tie in?
This is going to be the greatest segue ever. Trust me. Space Jin.
Oh, why?
He hasn't been uploading art lately.
Okay, I don't.
And I'm not as mad as I should be, but still, maybe he's gotten his cock and balls tortured.
Maybe he just pulled a jinx on us and electrocuted his nutsack.
Remind me of that. Thank you.
There's your
commenter.
There's your segue.
Commenter, Mr. Flare Guy, was it?
Started with
that video. That video is 50 fucking views as of right now. Okay, let's see. Science Boy. It was Science Boy. Thank you for commenting that. You have comments waiting your review. Wait, what?
Well, anyways, thank you so much for giving us all that information, Science Boy. We do not keep up with all of those things that happen around
just
the
so
creation.
You know, it put your comment of thanks for the info up for review.
Nice. Yeah, I was wondering why it was gone.
So basically you're shadow banned. So thank you for commenting all that. I was really surprised that anyone fucking commented in the first place.
It means a lot to us.
Yes. Donate to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/bensaint. Anyways.
Hey, that sounds like a joke, but soon.
Very soon you'll be donating to www.com/patreon/thepodcast if that link isn't taken 50 times. A lot of stuff he said was mostly just correcting. Well, not really correcting. I don't know what it was. I read it.
It was giving insight into a lot of the things we were talking about, like the drop in quality was in fact due to Jinx having several health issues, including electrocuting his own testicles.
Acute caffeine poisoning, depression, spontaneous phenothorax, stomach ulcers, blood in redacted, 2 bouts of fainting all in the last month. So, let's just say that Jinx is my hero because he's insane.
Yeah. So, we here at the podcast will say that if you pour your heart and soul and blood and electrocuted testicles into making your game, you have our respect.
Which is why Toby Fox doesn't have my respect. That's right! I'm segueing this into my favorite thing to talk about. Megalovania.
We're going everywhere. We've only been at this for like 5 minutes.
5 minutes and I'm already like up to my most hated thing ever, Undertale. Undertale fucking sucks.
Ooh man.
It's a bad game.
Ooh man. There's a lot of things that could be said about Undertale, and I'm pretty sure that you have several recordings of us talking about Undertale.
Yeah, and I've never posted them
No,
because they all got put on a hard drive, and
the
that
hard
hard
drive
drive
got wiped.
magically got deleted along with the rest of the every anime girl. That should be an episode 100 is gonna be that.
Yeah, episode 100. It's just me talking about every single anime girl I would fuck for the 5th time or something like that.
Yeah, 5th time. It's gonna be great. You're gonna be there's some new additions, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's been a lot of
Iruru
girls
from
coming.
the new Dragon Maid show.
Iruru?
Yeah.
I mean, she hasn't made an anime appearance yet, but she's been around for a little bit.
I
Yeah,
love how
oh.
much they changed the art style in the anime. It's almost like they were like really trying to avoid something.
Yeah.
The porn. They were trying to avoid the porn. That guy does so many fucking dojins.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's really funny how there's such a extreme difference in the manga and the anime for Dragon Maid.
I mean, yeah, it still had sexual tones in the anime, I guess.
Well, it has
But,
fan service. It's always going to have something like that.
Yeah, but like the manga is just like that's the entire thing.
It's just sucking on dragon titty.
It's just cock and ball torture, which brings us back to Spacin. What are we talking about?
At this point, we're just talking about whatever the fuck comes to mind, which is
It's
good.
It's the lightning round. What else is there? Making left turns.
Making left
Never
turns.
make left turns. The left turns are like the worst thing on the planet.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah?
so you have left turns, right? They're the cause of the most accidents. They take the longest, and they hold up traffic.
Yeah.
So, which is why everybody should just take right turns instead.
Yeah, if you
UPS
just
trucks
take
only take right turns.
You know, here, I don't know if it's the same where you live, but here you can turn right on red.
Oh yeah, we can do that at certain stoplights. You can't do that near schools, I think. Which I live near a school, so
Yeah, I don't think anybody gives a shit here.
I mean, I'll do 60 in a school zone every day.
The law is just a
I'll do
suggestion.
60 in a school. Law is a suggestion, and this is why you should kill every police officer you meet. Don't do that.
Yeah, that would just things are getting spicy. I don't want to talk about that stuff right now. It's a
Don't
little
kill
too early.
police officers
It's too-
yet.
It's too early to get political. We need to be a little bit more famous, and then we can get political, and then
Then
people
we can start
losing-
having heated gamer moments on a bridge.
But
Speaking of bridges, did you know that infrastructure?
what about infrastructure?
Well, you see, we spend over like $10 billion on infrastructure every year,
Uh-huh.
and it's done nothing. Both of those facts were taken out of my ass.
I don't think anyone would not believe that, though.
Yeah, especially people who get their entire political insight from John Oliver videos on YouTube. Like a few people I know. Not you.
They will be left unnamed.
Yes.
Not that anyone who would know them would watch this, but, you know,
But
for
I won't name you, but you know who you are, and I'm pointing at you right now. It might be through a few walls, but I'm pointing at you. John Oliver. What just plugged into USB device not recognized. Okay, here's a problem. This is going to turn into the biggest problem in the universe.
Uh-oh.
USB 3.0. Those like little things that Android devices use to charge, they
Yeah.
fucking suck at staying in my computer.
Really? I have
Yeah,
a
like
couple. I have a couple, and I don't have a problem.
I was
My
trying to play Symphony of the Night on an emulator, right? As you do.
that's illegal.
I fuck. I was legally playing Symphony of the Night legally on my legal emulator on my legally obtained copy of Symphony of the Night with my legally obtained BIOS. Um, and like, I was playing through the game, and then my controller disconnects, and I'm like, oh great. Well, I just have to plug it back in. Nope, the emulator will not accept my controller if it's unplugged. So I have to sit in this stupid position the whole time I'm playing just so I can play through Symphony of the Night for 5 minutes and then have to like fucking go back because my controller unplugged. By the
Now,
way, that
my
game's really good, and every game should be Symphony of the Night.
yeah, every game, including Undertale,
Yeah.
because fuck Undertale. But my headset is plugged into USB 3 right now. I actually have more trouble with my Xbox controller
Yeah,
because it's
I use an Xbox One controller when I'm playing like fucking games that are like Symphony of the Night, which is every game.
But I know whenever I play games that involve using my controller, I will almost always have my controller disconnect on me, and I will just sit there being like fuck for like 10 seconds straight, trying to get my controller to connect again.
I was playing Dauntless, and that happened. But I'm not gonna. Dauntless is something for another time. I was
Oh.
thinking, just talking about Castlevania. I thought, how many DS Castlevanias there are? They're like 3, right?
Something
There's
like that.
Portrait of Ruin. There's Aria of Sorrow or Dawn of Sorrow. I don't know.
It's
And then
Aria of
there's
Sorrow, because that's
and
the
then
only one I
there's
know.
Order of a word I can't pronounce. And what I'm gonna guess the general conception of those games in the Castlevania community is that they suck, and not because they actually suck, but because they're on DS. And that brings me to one of my problems: is people ragging on DS games because they're on DS.
Now, let me tell you, there are a lot of DS games that I really enjoyed.
Look, I liked Kingdom Hearts Recoded.
Okay.
I'll be the bold.
I'll do you one better. I will take one hot take. I liked Kingdom Hearts 358 and a half days.
Me too. Where is my copy of Etrian Odyssey 3? I'm gonna have a fucking heart attack. Yeah. I don't know why people like ragging on it's just the touchscreen. I haven't played any of the DS Castlevanias. I've seen TASes of them, which are hilarious.
Yes, they are. I think the problem with it is like whenever there's a touchscreen mechanic involved, you have to
People
forfeit.
just shit it.
Well, you have to forfeit a hand to use it.
Use your dick. What? You don't already do that?
I mean,
Remember the part where you had to draw the hourglass in Phantom Hourglass and you took out your dick?
there are some games that are a little bit more higher paced. Even in like simpler games, stopping what you're doing so you can draw on the touchscreen can be a little annoying at times. The only thing that comes to mind right now is like Wario Master of Disguise.
Yeah, keep talking. I'm having a fucking panic. Okay, there it is.
Yeah, but in that game, you would have to draw on the screen to fucking change your costume.
Oh,
And there was one costume. It was like an astronaut. You had to draw like an open helmet around Wario.
what
and
the
then there-
fuck?
Yeah, it gave him a gun.
I mean, you're drawing that open helmet a lot then. Wario
but
with a
then-
gun. Okay, completely unrelated. Just keep talking about what you were talking about earlier. I posted the Red Like Roses low quality thing, and
Yeah.
like every time I look at it, my mouse hovers over it, and like I'm tempted to click it, and I know that's gonna fuck up the recording. It's so tempting.
Yeah, well, I need you to not think about it, my friend.
Okay, I'll just close my eyes for the rest of the podcast.
I'll do it for you too, or with you too. But in fucking Wario Master of Disguise, there was another costume. I think it was a dinosaur costume. I don't remember. It's been a couple of years, but there was another disguise you could put on, and the symbol you had to draw to equip it was very similar to the astronaut symbol. So
Oh, it's like Okami. where
Yeah.
like two things are really similar and you keep getting the other thing. I don't think that happens in Okami. I'm just using Okami as an example.
Well, I'm
This
sure
is
Okami had a higher budget than Wario Master of Disguise because you don't hear anything about fucking Wario other than WarioWare.
yeah. Wait, Wario Master of Disguise? I even heard of that game. Hey, exactly your point. Here's another game no one's heard of, Yggdra Union.
All right, you got me there. I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, exactly. It got a iOS and Android port recently in Japan only, but this is the funny thing. Originally, it was a Game Boy Advance game that got ported to the PSP that now got ported to the phone.
Huh.
It's an SRPG.
Huh.
I played it when I was like fucking 10, 12, 13 years old on my PSP that I eventually broke because I like fucked with the battery too much. It was an experience. I can't really say if it was a good or bad game since I was 12 at the time and my brain was as developed as a fucking goldfish. But
It was something, huh?
it was something. It was worth remembering. I know that. There was this. I remember the final boss being extremely bullshit.
Yeah. That's generally most final bosses. Well, if you can't remember too much about it, can I segue into another question?
Yes.
How many games did you have for your PSP?
That is a very good question. I have a whole stack. Well, I can probably list off the top of my head. Fuck, I can't. Yggdra Union was one. Prinny Can I Be the Hero? Disgaea 2 Portable. Um, Little Big Planet. Probably like one or two more.
So you only had about 6 PSP games.
Oh, Birth by Sleep.
Yeah.
I didn't have many. I didn't have it for a long time. It eventually broke.
Well, the reason I ask is because generally speaking, a lot of people consider the PSP to be pretty worthless.
Oh yeah.
I'd have to say I kind of agree. I only played Kingdom Hearts, Black Rock Shooter, and
I did play Black Ops Shooter, but that was on an emulator about like a year after my PSP broke,
hmm,
which is also the year I figured out emulation.
naturally, there were a lot of PSP games that I wanted to play but never got around to it, and whenever I legally managed to get my hand on a perfectly legal copy, it did not cooperate with me and resulted in several hardware failures. Or not hardware, but, soft. Fuck it. It didn't work.
Yeah.
So I had to give it up, and I was left heartbroken and shattered because after all of my hard work of getting a little device known as an R4 to work on my Nintendo DS, I could not get anything similar to work for my PSP.
I remember this like rumor that if you used an action replay too much that your DS would blow up. That was fucking hilarious. I also have this picture of the back of the box, and one thing that you'll notice about Yggdra Union, I know I'm like going back to it, is that the game looks like it's a GBA game.
Yeah, it does. It looks, hold on a second.
It also looks a bit like Etrian Odyssey, which is also published by Atlas. This game was published by Atlas.
Yeah, it looks kind of like Advance Wars is what it looks like.
Yeah, it has this weird system that I cannot explain for the life of me. There's like two systems going on. You have this card system, and then you have the fucking weapon triangle shit, which is fucking whatever. And then there's the third system that I lied about, which is like a defense offense system. You see that bar at the top with like the gameplay thing? Yeah, that's like the defense offense bar, and usually you're gonna crank that all the way to 100%. It's weird. The game doesn't. as terms of story, it's like
I don't
okay,
really expect too much story
yeah.
from a.
The only thing that I remember is that there was these two girls that turned out that the game was leading you on that it was just one. It was from the enemy side, and there was these two girls, and the game was leading you on that they were just one person. And then in story event, one of them, the girl gets her like eye injured, and she has to, she's blind in one eye. And then the next time you see her, she's not blind in one eye, and then you're like, what the fuck? And then turns out in one of the last stages that they were twins, which is cool if you're 12 years old and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. But then it's like, why, why go through the process of trying to trick your enemy into thinking that it's just the same person? I don't
You
know.
know.
It's probably not well written.
Well, there are a couple games that have a similar problem, so it's not like it's a
I mean, I
big
guess this is the
surprise.
era where Atlas would publish every single fucking thing it got its hands on. Some of those things caught on, and some of those didn't.
Yeah. But I guess stuff like that is better than only sticking to like two IPs,
This
which
was published in the U.S. I can't find the copyright on this thing. 2008.
yeah, now that I think about it, there was like a huge explosion of new IPs around that time, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
Etrian Odyssey came out, which is the only one I care about. Um, Seventh Dragon was Seventh Dragon Atlas, because I do know Seventh Dragon is basically Etrian Odyssey but worse. Seventh Dragon. No, I want the publisher. Publisher Sega.
Sega.
So I do know that the director for Etrian Odyssey 1 for some reason left Atlas and made Seventh Dragon. And Seventh Dragon is a bad game. Uh, there's a glaring issue with it, and that there's these tiles in the whole game that are basically like poison tiles. This isn't an SRPG. This is like a Final Fantasy game. One
Nice.
of the old. There's these tiles in the whole fucking game that do massive amounts of damage to you constantly.
Just to make sure that you don't enjoy living.
Yeah, because that's the game. I played it for like, wait a second, what? Okay, I'm reading the Wikipedia page. Here's an excerpt. A sequel to Seventh Dragon 2020, which is a sequel to Seventh Dragon, titled Seventh Dragon 2022 was that is 2020 hyphen Roman numeral 2 was released
Nice.
on April 18th, 2013 in Japan, also for the PlayStation Portable. Hatsune Miku appeared again in the game as a non-playable character.
Hatsune Miku.
So this game had a collaboration with Hatsune Miku. Apparently, like the sequels, like abandoned the medieval Etrian Odyssey-esque like setting and just went full fucking degenerate with like the future high schoolers, like
Sci-fi.
Conception.
Yeah.
Gotta love high schoolers with katanas.
Something about high schoolers in fantasy settings, man.
It's not even fantasy; it's like sci-fi. Which okay, never mind. But like, I don't know. It kind of just sucks.
Yeah, it doesn't sound very concrete. Games
Yeah, it was so
really
concrete that they changed the entire premise of the game by the second title.
a lot of games in that time frame.
Except Etrian Odyssey, baby. That's the only one.
It's the successor to the fucking video game Battle Royale.
Yeah,
That was
and
the
currently
late
it's
2000s.
fucking gonna die because Untold is a thing. Hmm. Imagine, you know how Etrian Odyssey works, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, good. Uh, I'm still gonna have to explain it. No, I'm
So,
not. Look it up. Uh,
hoo-hoo.
Basically, they added a fixed party mode to the game with a fixed story. Basically, they just added a story mode. It's shit every time. All two times they did it, it's been shit. The artist has been accused of pedophilia, which,
Interesting.
if you look at the art for long enough, isn't surprising. And also, his art style has changed to something I'm not very fond of. But you know what they say: shut the fuck up.
Sometimes it really do be. I mean, for some reason, when I think of Etrian Odyssey, out of all the things that you've told me about it and that
You
I've heard
think
about
of
it,
Erato, okay?
no, I don't. I think of Maiden Abyss for some reason.
Yeah, they're basically like the same premise. Made in Abyss and Etrian Odyssey are connected, that they're both like kind of have the same setting, except Made in Abyss is a lot more story driven, obviously, than Etrian Odyssey.
And
And
it's also about more.
pissing.
T-
It's
I didn't
about
want to.
pissing.
I didn't want to
I
say it.
have to bring it up. Okay, if we're gonna talk about Made in Abyss, we're gonna have to bring this up. I counted there are 23 different times by chapter, like the time they get into the 6th layer and they're in the town. 23 different instances where a character pisses on screen.
He said it.
Yeah, I
I did.
said it.
I didn't want him to say it, but he said it.
And there's the problem with that is that I don't want to see fucking 12-year-olds pissing.
Understandable.
There's also one time where they take a shit, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Okay, I didn't need to know that. I
Yeah,
did not
yeah,
need to know
yeah,
that.
yeah. It's really weird. The show's really sexual. Like, it's really sexual for some reason. Someone, an unnamed person that I talk to frequently, who I just got finished talking to a few moments ago. That's a tell for A Spot.
Yeah.
Um, told me that it's more like naturalism, and fuck if I know what that means, but like, it's still really sexual.
Yeah.
The character Nanachi, the furry, um, me saying furry is basically a tell of what she is. I'm not saying that that's makes the show bad, because I really like the premise and I like all the little magical things, like if you go up, you get fucked. Um, but it's like there's these other things. There are also like there's one plot hole in particular that fucking gets me every time I think about it, which is the part where the main character girl gets stabbed through the hand by like a poisonous fucking like lava spawn, and she like first of all the spike went completely clean through the middle of her palm, so her hand is destroyed. She can't use her
Nice.
fingers, and then she uses her fingers. Also, there's this thing where her blood's poisoned, and then they go up, and then like all the blood in her body goes out of her body, but it's like, then wouldn't the
She
poison be
doesn't.
going out of her body? I'm not very smart, so I don't know how these things work, but the logical conclusion to me is that the poison would go out of her body.
I mean, that sounds like some medieval medicinal shit right there. You just attach a whole bunch of leeches or you bleed someone out.
Yeah, what they do is they attach like Nanashi's fucking like dead friend Immortal Leech to her.
Uh, okay. You, I have,
Spoilers, I guess.
I'm getting a lot more questions than answers here.
Okay, so like you know the layer thing, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, so like the 4th layer or the 5th layer, I don't know. I think 5th is just death. 4th, going up for 4th, you lose your humanity, which means you become a furry or you become a fucking eldritch monstrosity. And Nanachi became the furry. Her best friend became should I just nah? She became like just a fucking weird amalgamation of flesh, and she also is immune to every single disease possible, and she's also immortal and can't die. Um, so they use her to like suck up all the poison, but then they need to like they also get these leeches that go on her bones. It's really unnecessary. The part where they like literally take a bone saw and like I don't remember
Alright.
it very well, but they cut the leeches off of her bones afterwards, and it's like, what the fuck?
Alright. You know what? I'm gonna have to watch this show now.
Like, it's in the manga. I haven't watched the show because I don't like watching anime that much, especially when I've read the manga first.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lie. I do like watching anime. It's just that I don't like watching it after I've read the manga.
Because then you get to see how they bastardized it.
But it's just so slow. I read so fast, and it's just like, oh my god, I went through
Yeah,
this like
that's
50
true.
times by now. There's also a part where, like, you know what? I'm not going to even talk about it. Basically, yeah, Made in Abyss and Etrian Odyssey have a lot of similarities. It's a shame that whoever writes Etrian Odyssey stories for Untold is an absolute fucking moron.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
I'm surprised that something like that even has a writer to begin with, though.
Yeah, well, they have to write a story for the games. It was a very basic story in the normal games, but then in the remakes of the first two games, they wrote a real story with real characters. Obviously, that's my complaint, and it's not very good. Um, One of the games, the third game, which I consider to be the best game in the series, has a very interesting story and also
Yeah.
a setting that I like, which is basically the setting of Wind Waker. But like, eh, the first two games' stories are pretty basic. The first game offends me with the fucking like, it doesn't really offend me. It's just like, oh, really? The fifth area in the game is Shinjuku. It turns out you're in the future, like a million years in the future after society died, and blah, 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 blah. So that's fun. And then you fight an Eldritch monstrosity, as per usual. Are you rolling die?
No, I'm sorry, I'm playing with something while I'm reading.
Are you reading a?
I'm reading about something that I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to double check myself before I brought it up.
Well, then I'll just keep talking. Etrian Odyssey basically is the best thing ever. Best girl is Gunner. Um, they have two mangas for it. One of them, I guess, was discontinued because I can only find like so many chapters of it, and the other one for Etrian Odyssey 3 is completely
That,
untranslated. I can't even find it anywhere.
I
Someone,
mean, it might not have ever been scanned
yeah,
because it's not normal for something like that to just stop being made.
yeah. Um, I'm waiting for the Etrian Odyssey 3 remake so that I can, you know, play that. But they're also gonna add a bullshit story to it, so
Yeah.
maybe it's gonna be good. I don't know. Maybe they've killed the writer.
Yeah. Speaking of killing writers, this is what I wanted to talk about, and I was double checking myself earlier. Um, the Tales of series writer Hideo Baba had some problems, and
Are those problems mainly manifesting in Symphonia and Zestiria?
I don't think
Did he write
so.
those?
Yeah, he did. He was a producer for Zestiria.
That's
He didn't work on Symphonia.
oh. Can we get this out of the way? Symphonia's bad.
Oh, I'm not. I mean, it's not really talking about Symphonia, but he did work on a lot of like the middle era Tales games, and one of the more popular Tales games, Vesperia, which just recently got a fucking remaster, which sadly did not do that well, despite it looking beautiful. But
The only other Tales game that comes to mind when you say Tales of is like Xillia. Is that right? And
yeah,
then Of the Abyss.
yeah.
And that game, I've, for reasons I will never explain on the podcast ever, I have very mixed feelings for that game. Its plot.
The plot of Tales of the Abyss was a little out there. I'll agree.
I'm just mad. That's all I can say about it.
But Hideo Baba did not work on Tales of the Abyss.
Wasn't there a remake on the 3DS?
Yeah, there was. Because you sent me a screenshot of Tales of the Abyss, and I was like, "Is this the 3DS remake?" And you're like, "No, this is the PS2." I was like, "What the fuck? It looks so weird."
Wait. I did?
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look at our image.
You sent me a picture of Natalia when she meets you in the.
Oh yeah, and she's like, what does she say? She says like Cox.
That's basically all she says in the entire game.
Fucking going through her DMs and it's just a bunch of fucking like Lenin. We're not bringing that up. And then it's Law of
You're
Talos.
gonna
Then
have
it's
to
the
dig
latex shirt.
very far. It's.
Oh, I can just type in Tales of.
But he worked on Vesperia, Xillia, and a lot of the...
Yeah, it's when Natalia's like, I found you, and her
Yeah.
face is like really fucked up.
Yeah. And he also worked on Zestiria. So he worked on... Out of all the games he worked on, most of the Tales games were pretty good. The only one that he worked on that I did not like with Tales is Zestiria, and I could go on a very long rant about
That's
why
the Patreon
I
bonus is A-Spot's TED Talk and why Zestiria is the worst game on the planet.
There's a lot of unnecessary mechanics in that game.
Wasn't there like an elemental mechanic that was like...
The only game that expanded on elements unnecessarily was Xillia 2, where it added 2 extra physical types.
Was it blunt and pierce?
It was blunt and gun.
So blunt and pierce.
Yeah,
Gun
basically.
Pierce, except... Yeah. Gun should be its own... You know what? Bring back SMT1 gun mechanics, please. That's like one of my favorite.
Just make it so that gun one-shots everything.
It's not even a one-shot, it just hits every enemy multiple times. And also you can like put status effects on the bullets. Really fair.
That's one of the things that Tales games had a problem with, though, is that all status effects were tied to an element.
Ooh.
It doesn't sound that bad, technically, but the way Tales combat works is it makes it really fucking painful to deal with.
Why would you do that? It seems like you're just asking for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else is asking for trouble? Making Megalovania. I'm not talking about fucking Megalovania. Why?
But if you'll let me keep ranting about Zestiria until you come up with another topic.
Yeah.
There is one enemy in Zestiria in particular that drove me insane because she shows up like 5 times.
Was it the tiny fucking snail?
Oh, no, that is one thing I do want to talk about. But no, I want to talk about the Medusa enemy. There's like 5 Medusas you have to fight in the game. Every single one of them has a Petrify ability, which generally in most games is I don't fucking know what you want to call it, but in this game, it's a fucking it.
Petrify is
If
usually just called Petrify.
yeah, I know, but it it just one shots you.
It's just like a kill move.
Yeah, it's
If
just.
your whole party's petrified, you'd lose.
But the way the Tails combat works is if you're standing in a bad position, your entire team just gets wiped in one move.
Ooh, that's good. Ooh.
Okay, and then this is where it gets kind of funny, all right? So there's one character in Tales of Zestiria who is canonically blind. All right?
Oh, I love blind characters.
All right? He's a playable character. He's a party member.
I know this is going.
All right? So when you first meet him, he's blind the entire time, all right? It doesn't tell you he's blind until a certain point, but until the point where the game announces that he is blind, he is susceptible to petrify. When the game says that he is blind and immune to being petrified,
Look,
he is immune to being petrified.
Look, he's just retroactively blind. Look, if I said I was blind right now, I'd be blind, which I still am. Funny how I found that picture of Natalia. I don't have a topic. Keep going.
All right. So then I also want to talk about how in Zestiria there's these like historial orbs where they're fucking fragments of the Earth's memory for some god fucking unknown
Is it
reason.
like Final Fantasy X?
Kind of. It presented itself as a side quest in the game though.
Oh,
And except for like right at the end of the game, you have to talk to this one guy and he's like, "Yeah, you know those orbs that you've been
it's like
seeing?
Rayman Origins.
You have to fucking go and get them all."
Oh my god. It's like Rayman Origins.
So
A game I never beat because of that.
yeah, it really killed my desire to play the game. I dropped Zestiria.
Games should never do that.
I dropped Zestiria like 3 times. 3 fucking times. Because I hated it so fucking bad.
I think like the only game RPG I like intentionally dropped was a game I'm the only person who's ever played it, Final Fantasy IV Heroes of Light, which was a bullshit game. There's this part where you become your whole party of 2 people at the moment, becomes animals and your stats are fucking tanked. And then you fight a boss.
Nice.
And the boss is just like it's like this fucking phoenix bird thing. I don't remember. It's like in a fucking tree. And it's like it just fucking wipes you. You have 2 people in the party. And they both suck.
Nice.
And that game had like the same mechanic as Bravely Default did with the job thing. Except they were hats.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I've never actually played a game with a job system. And it really upsets me because it sounds like a really cool concept.
It's cool. I don't really like it because it's like, I don't know, if I made an RPG, I don't like it, but it seems like the ideal thing to do.
Literally the closest thing to a game that has a job system that I've played is like a class system like fucking Disgaea, and that's not really the same.
I mean, then again, I would also, if I were making an RPG, make it a dungeon crawler and also just make Etrian Odyssey. But like if I was forced to make not Etrian Odyssey, it'd probably just be something with a job system. Because that's just like, they'll do whatever the fuck you want. You can't blame me if you suck thing.
Yeah.
You can definitely blame me if you suck in SMT. No, you can't. Use buffs.
Yeah, dude.
Woo! Just use
Just
buffs.
balance
Call out
your
to
party
the person
better.
who said that SMT3 is bad because they couldn't beat Matador. I'm shouting at one particular person. You know who you are, and you will be commenting on this video.
But there's a lot of RPGs that I wanted to play but never got around to, like the Final Fantasy Tactics on the DS.
I
I
have
wanted.
I have to play Final Fantasy Tactics at all.
I played like a little bit of it, and then I just never got around to finishing it.
Isn't Final Fantasy Tactics like a prequel to Final Fantasy 12?
I don't remember.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
even know if that's the exact. Whatever I played had
What the
something to do
fuck
with
is Final
crystals.
Fantasy 12? Is that the MMO?
Wait, no, 14 and 11 were the MMOs,
What was
I
12?
think. I
The
don't.
one with the bunnies and the belt lady. The lady with the dress of belts.
Oh, this one. Yeah, the one that I see a lot of really good images of.
Porn. You know what? Yeah, let's keep with that. Really interesting images.
Yeah, I actually remember watching my sister play this a long time
Was it
ago.
really interesting?
It wasn't that bad, but when I think back on it, I realize just how much Square Enix reuses assets.
I've never really noticed since I haven't really played much of like Final Fantasy 8 through 12.
Well, since you recently bought Final Fantasy
Fantasy,
13,
yes.
by the way, how's that going?
I haven't opened it since.
Well, that's great because it sucks ass, and you will figure out very quickly they reuse assets all over the place. But Final Fantasy 12 looks
Oh, wait, your
actually
mic's fucking up.
real. Wait, really?
Yeah, you're getting this crackling sound. Are you like, is it plugged in okay?
Yeah. Actually, now that you mention it, yeah, it is showing up on Audacity. Shit. Well, I hope it's just a little bit then. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, it's not doing it now. Uh, huh.
Oh
Final
well.
Fantasy 12.
It looks not bad actually. Like other than the fact that it's a old ass game.
It looks like it's entirely a desert. It looks like it's near Automata, which isn't a bad thing. But when 90% of your game takes place in a desert, that better be a fucking interesting desert.
Yeah. But then
Now,
you
now when
get
I think
to
about it, most of that game happens in the kingdom.
but then you get like Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2 in Lightning Returns. Um I tried to get through Lightning Returns. I ended
What
up
is it? Isn't Lightning Returns like Majora's Mask?
it's it's interesting. It is a little bit like Majora's Mask. There is a time limit for the entire game. Um
Wait,
that
is it? Wait, like
it's
you
the
have to
second
beat.
the second you start the game, you're put on a time limit. Uh
Okay.
so the way Lightning Return works is you have to complete the side quests in order to prolong the amount of time you can play the game.
Oh, it's like a demo.
Yeah, it's like
It's
a
like an Xbox Live demo.
if you fail to complete certain missions, you get a game over. There are 4 required missions, and I don't know what happens if you complete them because I've only completed 1, and then I just deleted the game. I couldn't take it anymore.
I heard it was good. It's just that like no one played it because fuck Final Fantasy 13.
I can't say that it's good to be honest. I really can't.
Yeah, I'm gonna trust you on this and say it's probably not good. Fuck the person who told me it was.
Like I genuinely preferred Final Fantasy 13's combat to Lightning Returns combat, and That's
That's
saying
an
a lot.
insult.
Yeah.
There is nothing interesting about that combat.
Because, oh shit, my mic's doing it again. I heard it crack all that time. Well, I guess nothing's picking up though. But Final Fantasy Lightning Returns, it's like all your party members are combined into just Lightning. Your party is literally, you play the entire game only as Lightning. There's no one else.
Like,
It
is the
is
combat the same as Final Fantasy 13 2
I
or
kinda
13?
Kinda, yeah. It's basically the same. The only difference is you get 3 loadouts that you can freely swap between. And
Okay.
while you are using one loadout, the ATB on the other 2 will recharge.
Okay. So
So
it's
you
like a
have to,
swap and go thing going on?
yeah, you can do some pretty interesting things. It still has the stagger mechanic. It still has uh, like elemental weaknesses and all that other shit.
Yeah.
But it's just things like AoE is always constantly a problem in Final Fantasy XIII's combat system because you have no control over your placement.
They just kind of fuck around.
Yeah, if you want to distance yourself, you just cast spells, which is really, really dumb. And since the game is based on a clock, the entire game is based on a clock, there's also a special meter that you have that recharges every in-game day.
Okay.
So this special meter, it gives you a couple special abilities. If you die in combat, you can revive for a couple points. You can also use it to fast travel, and I think you can also use it to pause time for a decent amount of time.
Okay.
So you can do a couple neat things with it, but really the only thing that you would ever realistically use it for is to revive yourself.
Yeah.
But even then, it brings you back with like 10 fucking HP, and the enemy is still standing there staring you in the dick.
Still biting your dick off. Sounds like an experience that I'll have myself.
I really wouldn't recommend it.
There are
I'm
a
gonna
lot
be
of things you
perfectly
haven't
honest with you.
recommended to me, and I've done them anyway. For example, playing Era Toho at all.
Hey. I mean,
For the
that
audience that isn't well versed in what an Era game is, I can't fucking tell you.
it's an experience. It's not. It's like you
You know,
play it.
I never thought reading words would be so interesting.
It's like you play it. You're like, who the fuck would be interested in this? And then you like blink, and 2 hours have passed, and you're like, what the fuck?
I've stayed up before like school, and like I'd be like, I'll just play. Yeah, I can't go to sleep. I'll just play an hour. I blink. It's 6 a.m. I have to go to school. It's
That's crazy.
and I'm like, wait, what? I look at the screen. It's just like day 20,000, and I'm like, oh god. I remember the first time you showed me one of the Arrow games. Someone else was in voice and said, "Why is this so in depth?" I'm surprised. I was surprised too that like people fucking work on it.
Yeah, the formulas are in pretty intense for something of this scale. It's like you wouldn't expect something that small to be that intricate, but I guess since they only have to worry about the code,
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and I never really thought about how like other assets of a game can impede on the features. Um, One thing in particular is there is an Era game which is basically just like a casual life simulator, but you have the ability to stop time.
yeah.
And I never really thought making a casual life simulator with modern graphics would be fucking awful.
I mean, if you really want to think about it, like, what if you could just play VR chat but pause time? That would actually be pretty cool. But I mean, you wouldn't be able to do half the things you could do in TW. So
Yeah, TW is very. We have to give context on like what TW is. TW is like a dating sim, while Aruto OK. Both of these games are Toho based. They have Toho characters. Yeah,
yeah,
they both take place in Toho Land, Gensokyo. Um, Aruto TW is just like a normal dating sim. Aruto K is like from what I don't know what Rance is, but I've heard people say that it's like Rance. So if you know what that is and you like it,
I mean,
go crazy.
it's like a conquest game
Yeah, it's
almost.
like it's like yeah, which is one of the main things, which is very interesting. Um, you can make custom characters in both games. One of them benefits from making a custom character much more than the other. I'll give you a hint, it's K.
You know, just give yourself that lucky
Arutoho
stat.
TW is like to do anything, it takes like a fucking hour of your time. It's really grindy. There's a setting where you can live as a peasant, which is like, why would I ever do that? Get that option off of my screen. There's a bunch of like weird settings where you can put Alice on like, I forget what it was, but like some weird mode where she's like different. There's like this weird mode where you can put Satori on like princess mode, and I don't know what the fuck that means.
Hmm.
There's a lot of untranslated text, obviously. All of these games are Japanese, by the way. Uh, Someone in the Era Toho community, the English community, is trying to make an engine of TW, I think. I don't know how that's going because I haven't looked at it.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine that it wouldn't be too difficult to write something like that.
Yeah, but it's definitely gonna take long.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have to worry about any assets. If he needs any assets, he can just take the
Yeah, the
million fucking.
assets of Era Toho K and W are the pictures.
They're very basic. There's nothing. There's the only thing that I don't like
TW
about.
has something that TW has over K in terms of assets is that it randomly generates girls that you can fuck, obviously. So that's the thing with their own portraits.
Yeah, that's one thing that I don't like about K is that there's no custom portraits at all.
Yeah,
They were talking about support for it, but I don't know.
they're
That's
used to or something. I don't know.
maybe not something the best to close note on.
Oh yeah. Better thing to close note on.
Shit! Shit! We can only
Taking a
think with our
shit.
dicks.
Taking a shit. It's good for you. Please take a shit.
Wait, that reminds me. I saw some post about some lady who was so constipated she lost 10 years of her memory because when she finally shit, it gave herself a fucking aneurysm.
That's an even worse note to end on.
No, just shit. Don't hold it in. If you're standing in the fucking train, just shit.
That reminds me of something. This is a better note to end on. What is Japan's obsession with girls peeing?
I mean, they just really like watching cute girls do cute things like pissing and
No,
shitting.
it's not like peeing on a toilet. It's like
trying to get to the toilet and peeing, and it's like, what?
Just it's just I don't even know how to answer that.
Japan's weird. I'll move there one day and beat the shit out of every single person I see. they'll they'll call me the Supreme Overlord, the Führer.
I will conquer Japan.
Yeah, and then I'll find every single soldier of 1942 and do what they did to China. That was
Okay.
okay.
Maybe we need to call it quits before we really regret something.
I just made a joke. That was a joke. That was not a heated gamer moment. That was a joke. Disclaimer, everything that I just said was a joke. Please quote me on that. When you quote me on what I just said.
There will be no problems with any of what we're saying because none of it has any effect.
That's right. I will not be moving to Japan ever. This is a lie. Yeah, bye.
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 Is that it? Bye?
Yeah, let's just say bye. Fuck it.
Peace.
I was saying bye to someone else. Bye.
Bye. Have fun. Fuck you.
Fuck you, dick. Oh, wait. Before you end, see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, that's right. Tuesday. That's how we do it here. Every Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday, and we're done.